So the new institutions and structures of our economy have to be organized for implementing our economy at every level, and we have to have the governing structure for our economy based on that framework that I keep talking about that governs Crown Indian Nations relations. So we have a whole lot of homework to do. When we set up the Bear Claw Casino at White Bear, we developed the Trade and Commerce Act, which provided capacity for White Bear government to enter into a trade agreement with one of the tribal governments on the US side to import the slot machines, because Canada federally didn't delegate, but they recognized the provincial government's jurisdiction for gaming within their own provincial boundaries. And they forgot that the provinces have no jurisdiction on reserves at all to apply provincial law and jurisdiction in any sector. So in setting up the Bear Claw Casino, we entered into that trade agreement under the White Bear laws and jurisdiction, so their Trade and Commerce Act, and their trade agreement with the tribe across the border to import the slot machines. The late Carl Roberts, a former chief of Roseau River, Manitoba, and I took it to Customs Canada in Winnipeg. The lady said, okay, this is all in order. Give me a few minutes. She came back in about 20 minutes. Okay, she said, all that info has been forwarded to the Customs in Manitoba, US border. You can bring your slot machines across. Everything's in order. Your laws, your jurisdiction, and your trade agreement. So we brought them across, but the RCMP were at the border to have Customs Canada stop us. And they said no, they have everything in order, their laws and their trade agreement under their own government and their jurisdiction, so they're going across. Because we couldn't buy anything to set up our own gaming and casino industry, because the governments of Saskatchewan, the provinces, and the federal government met with representatives from the USA, including law enforcement agencies, on how to prevent Indian nations from getting into gaming. And they made a policy that they would not have retail outlets or wholesale outlets sell any products or supplies to Indian gaming. And they recognized the electronic gaming to be implemented only under provincial jurisdiction. And like I said, forgetting provincial jurisdiction does not apply on reserves. So our laws, our Gaming Act recognized everything for the White Bear gaming industry with their casino, and we set up the casino, which got raided by the RCMP a few weeks later with no jurisdiction for trespassing on White Bear lands, never mind raiding the casino. And if I was there, they'd have been securing the casino, never mind raiding it. But you see, the code of silence again. The Justice Minister provincially should have known that he has no jurisdiction on White Bear Reserve and territory. But yet he sent in the RCMP, again, an institution, a national institution that should have known better as well. But that's an issue in itself that still has to be resolved. And we need to move ahead with forming our own jurisdiction and laws occupying the field for the total gaming industry, including casinos, right in our communities, regionally and nationally. Nothing's stopping us from doing that.
Gaming itself is an inherent right.
Yeah.
We did that.
Yeah. Gaming is an inherent right, and we had pretty large jackpots in the card games, the poker games.
Hand games.
Yeah, and hand games. So gaming and casinos weren't new to us. They're inherent rights that we have, validated by reserving them by the national powers of treaty making and the international treaties we have. So the whole industry of gaming has to include the traditional and contemporary gaming capacity, and that's where we're at today, except the jurisdictional area that has to be cleared up, where we occupy the full field of gaming, or in traditional contemporary gaming, under our inherent legal system, jurisdiction, and laws, by community, regionally, nationally, internationally. Now that's a task that is there for every one of our governments of our nations and every one of our nations. But do we come together collectively, again, to address this political agenda impacting on the economy and impacting on the national powers of gaming and the national powers of treaty making and inherent rights implementing our jurisdiction for gaming? That's a task we have. Why aren't we doing it? Now, you see, the feds can amend their federal laws under the criminal code respecting the recognition of provincial gaming jurisdiction. They can also provide complementary legislation under the criminal code recognizing our gaming jurisdiction of our nations by community, regionally, nationally, internationally. And by the way, the federal government is the only power in their system that has international jurisdiction for gaming. So when they vacated the field to the provincial governments, I think they totally forgot about that jurisdiction that they have to implement and enforce. And now they transferred that gaming jurisdiction to the provinces that have no capacity internationally to regulate and apply and implement gaming. We still retain that power and jurisdiction for international gaming capacity. So that's just one of the economies that has been recently formed that we need to talk about and implement that economy in every sector. So the gaming industry in Saskatchewan is governed by SIGA, the Saskatchewan Gaming Authority, with one share from each band. And the revenues that are collected annually, a percentage are distributed directly to the bands and the urban centers. But for operation and maintenance, there was a joint agreement between the province for operation and maintenance, and one must recognize it's very costly to maintain and operate casinos and gaming. Now the Federation of Nations is looking at a new agreement where all that falls totally under our own gaming economy and our own inherent legal system, jurisdiction, and laws that can also be applied nationally. So we have the institutions already in place, and we can move ahead with surveillance and security with our own institutions. And here in Saskatchewan, we can expand the Saskatchewan Indian Gaming Regulators. That's an institution that provides for security and surveillance of our gaming industry, both on and off reserves.